I've recently been reminded that Instagram was made for artists, and that it's a platform that we really can benefit from in terms of getting our art out into the world. And also, of course, there's always those damn algorithms. And Instagram apparently loves your face, and also reels. So I'm gonna just put myself here to give you a little bit of introduction. I have a background in television and theatre, and I've just been chatting. I've been to an art gallery opening today, and chatting to other artists and people in the art field, and I realized really how much these skills benefit me and how much I use them in my artwork. So in my art practice, one of the ways I use the skills is, filming process videos. And although Instagram and social media is not my forte, although I'm learning and getting better at it, my idea is that I really want to share the process of creativity with people. And what better way to do it than through these platforms? With my background in television and theatre production, in theatre I worked backstage, so I was very much involved in the production side of things, and also in the in lighting operation and stuff like that, and the operations and stage management. So I was behind the scenes. And in my theatre career, in my television career, I worked for a small business that was had a creative business owner. And I don't know if any of you have worked for a small business with a creative owner. It can be a nightmare, and there's never any budget. But the advantage of it was that I worked my butt off, for sure, but I also got to work in all the roles in the production of television, except for filming. So I was a director, I was a producer, I was the client liaison, I was the scriptwriter, I was even the autocue operator at some point. I was also the presenter at some stage in my TV work. I was also the editor. I learned to edit. I taught myself how to use the editing and to edit. And I was also the, what do you call it? What would you call it? Like, I don't know, systems manager of organizing all the hours and hours and hours of footage that we had. And in those days, it was on Betacam tapes, cassette tapes that would go into machines. If anyone remembers those, then you know how old I am. And before digital, and having to log all of that footage and keep it in cabinets and shelving and all of that sort of stuff. So I did all of it. I worked really hard, long hours, and burnt out after about 12 years of doing that. I had enough, and I wanted to go home, look after my baby, and then babies. I had two of them, and in that time I had burnt out, and it was something that really prompted me to go and take care of my health. And if you've lived long enough in this world, you know that as soon as you have a health scare or you burn yourself out, often that's a prompt and a message from your body to change things and do things differently. And so I started experimenting and exploring ways to heal myself, not just physically, but mentally, in that I needed to work with my own self-awareness, my inner patterns, my belief systems, how I was navigating the world, to really understand my behavior patterns that would keep on bringing me to a place of burnout. And I did this through eventually through exploring like dance therapy, if you want to call it that, a form of dance movement that was like fusion, blending a whole lot of different movement forms, including healing arts like yoga and Feldenkrais, and also Tai Chi and Aikido and all of those kinds of martial arts, which included using your voice, and that I found so extremely liberating and empowering. And then the dance arts, including like very lyrical dancing and movement. And I explored a whole lot of different movement forms and different kinds of dance movement practices, okay? And really got into my body. Up until my 30s, I had really lived in my head. I was a very academic student at school. I was a very academic student at university, and just everything was lived from my head. And also being brought up in a very religious Catholic family, everything was like up here. right, in the mental and spiritual realm, and nothing was down in the physical, because no, that was profane. So getting back to dancing and movement got me back into my body, and it really kickstarted and reignited my connection to myself as an artist. And I'd always been an artist. I was the one in the family who was always drawing. I was always given art materials for Christmas presents, for birthday presents. I loved it. I loved it. At 10, I was given my first camera. And I was always drawing. I was always drawing on the walls when I was very little. Of course, every crayon, pen, and pencil that I could find, I'd draw on the walls. But it was in me innately as an artist. I had discovered, I think, that was a place where I could escape into an imaginary world that helped me to make sense of what was going on around me in the outside world. So as a very sensitive human being, which I think most artists are, we are the sensitive ones on the planet, I found art as my way to manage life, and that was very instinctual. And I think it's only as I've got older and been through disconnecting from that place, and academicizing, if that's a word, art, through going to university and studying fine art, where it got kind of your intuitive, in the 80s in South Africa, definitely your intuitive, sentimental, or feeling part of making art was definitely kind of knocked out of you. It was like a little bit like being in military school, actually. They broke you down to break you, they wore you down to build you up, if you know what I mean. And I didn't actually do very well in that kind of environment. So it's only really as I've got older, and since I started exploring after having burnout, that I realized that the way to really create and to really be in touch with the true artist inside yourself is to go through the body and through the breath, and to be really present, and then to allow your very authentic expression to come through. And so this has been my path, I guess, for the last since 2005, so nearly 20 years. And in that time, I've also explored massage and healing and body work. And so my art practice now really does involve and incorporate all my life experience. I make the videos because I love making them to share with people. I love sharing things with people and tools. I've been doing that for the last 20 years, tools that work for me. And a lot of it, all of it, is body-centered. So what I've learned is that to be truly creative, we need to connect to our body. And then also to be whole and to feel whole again, we need to be connected to our bodies and to create our creativity, our innate creativity, as well as nature. We need to remember that we are part of nature and that we are all creative. Just because we're human, it's part of being human is the creative act. So that's a little bit about me. My art practice is really about, I think a lot about our lost connection to nature and to our bodies. It was healing for me on so many levels, on a really deep transformational level, to reconnect to my body. And so I use my body. I follow the guidance from my body. Let me put it that way. When I make work, it's always like, what does my body want to do? And sometimes I work really big and sometimes I work really small. And I love working in both mediums. And I find it really hard to work medium size. Like, it just doesn't gel for my body. It doesn't excite me. I find it bland and mediocre. And so I really get juiced up when I'm working really, really tiny details, like in my busy mind drawings or my doodles, and also when I'm working really, really big on paintings. I love the fluidity and the motion, and I also just love following the energy that comes out of my hand, whatever it is that wants to come out and be expressed. So that's me in a nutshell, and that's it. That's my introduction. Thanks for being here on my Instagram profile, and I'm really going to make an effort this year to share more of my work. Part of what has prompted me to do that is I had an exhibition in 2022. I created an exhibition for myself in a forest sanctuary, where I had made, again, just prompted purely by the need to make really big work these long rolls of paper paintings. They were talking to me. I know it sounds really weird, but it was kind of like I just got this gut instinct to that they needed to be shown or not shown, shared. They needed to be shared with the world. They needed to get out there. And I was like, okay, this is weird, like da da da. And I realized that as an artist, it's actually not you, me, the person that's showing this work. It's actually the work itself that wants to be shown. And I was just chatting to someone at the gallery opening today. When she first saw the artworks in the forest that were mine, she was brought to tears. And she said often she looks at my work, and it's not all my pieces, it's some of them, and they just like move her to tears. And she wasn't the only person who gave me that response. And I'm so shocked and surprised that my work could have that kind of effect on people. And then I realized, like, oh, that's what it is. I make work that comes really from not my heart, it comes, or my head. It actually comes from deep within some creative place inside me. I think Elizabeth Gilbert calls it it's the muse or the genius or whatever it is that is. It's not genius as in smart. It's like it's the art. It's the creative force within you that we all have, because we are nature. We're all connected to that nature, that creative force. And so, with connecting to that and putting this work out there, just making the work and then sharing it in a space like a forest, I don't know, for some reason, whatever reason, it had this effect on quite a few people. And it made me realize that artists make work in order to touch people's souls. So it's work from their souls that they need to do. They need to make this expression because it's how we manage and cope with the world and how we make sense of it. And then it gets translated in some way to certain people. My husband hates my work. Truly, he does. It gives him a visceral effect that he just like feels completely uncomfortable with. He can't look at my work for very long. But to other people, it completely moves them and touches them at some deep, visceral level that they can't even put words to. And that's what art does. It kind of like connects us and reconnects us to ourselves. And so that's what I do. I just make art and I put it out there and I share it with you and whoever wants to see it. And just because the art itself needs to be seen. And I guess not my wish, but like the wish of my higher self or deeper creative self is that it touches people and moves people and just reconnects you to a little bit part of yourself that maybe you feel disconnected from, and reminds you also that you're a part of nature. Okay, that's it. Enjoy my profile. Thanks for being here.